Alright, so this is our favorite microwave slash toaster by Kenmore. It's called the Toast and Wave. They do not manufacture these. It's been discontinued for probably 10 years at least. It is 2024 now, but I guess it wasn't a popular idea to have a microwave built in with a toaster, and so nobody makes this. So we want to make this thing last as long as possible, and part of the thing is maintaining it. So here's the issue: when you do the toast and turn it on, you can hear the fan going, but it sometimes just runs weird, like it's getting worn out. Now I've cleaned the blades on the fan and that made it sound a little bit quieter, but it's still pretty noisy. But it just doesn't sound quite right, like the motor for the fan is wearing out. That noise is consistent. Go ahead and clear. Now it's doing that because when you turn on the toaster, the fan kind of cools everything down after it's been turned on. So it's a really cool function of it. But if I were to use the microwave and start it, that same fan of course comes on. So that's where I've tracked the problem down to, is being this fan that's on the back end. So we're going to get in there. I've already cleaned up the fan blades. I'm going to change out the fan motor because it makes a very, very strange kind of sound. Let's go for 30 seconds and see if we can get it to... You hear it? It's a sub noise, like that. So sometimes it's just making weird sounds, and it seems like it's related to the fan because it doesn't matter whether I turn on the microwave or turn on the toaster, it makes the same weird sounds like it's running out of power. So because of it also making that sound when I do the toaster like it's running out of power, I know it should have nothing to do with the microwave. It's still heating up food fine, it's still making toast fine. So let's get in there and let's change some pieces. Alright, so we're going to have these screws, which I don't have that tool to extract it, but what I do have is a very small fine nose, which is a 2.5 flathead, that I can fit in between there just right and turn it to get it off. So I'm going to use that as my tool. I'm going to be taking off the screws from the back. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this one comes off now. And then there's also a Phillips here on the side. There's no screws on this side. So we're going to take our back cover off, or top cover off. Alright, so basically it's taking off the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws and the one on the side. We'll do this one later because that's the screws that hold the fan housing on. But basically it's kind of a tip up, tip up. Doing this with one hand, it'll be a lot easier for you. Tip up and then slide it back to get it out. When you go to put it in, do it the opposite of that, which would be install the edge and then slide it down. Okay, so tip up, slide it back, takes it off. Alright, make sure that your microwave is completely discharged. I recommend making sure that you unplug it maybe an hour before you open up the back of it, because you do not want to bother anything right here. That is the converter piece, and it has a lot of high voltage on it. So you're not going to be bothering this for what we're doing, but if you are going to be doing anything dealing with this, make sure it's been unplugged for a number of hours, because with this you have the relative capacitor. That capacitor is going to hold on to a lot of electricity before it all gets dispensed. So as you see, the wires go up to this unit. So if you're messing with either this or even those capacitors, make sure that it is completely discharged. So let it stay unplugged for an hour. If you know you're going to work on it the next day, unplug it overnight and then do your work the next day so that it's completely discharged and have no issues. So our fan unit is here. Inside, I've got the fan motor and then the fan housing carrier. What I'm going to be doing today is replacing the motor. What I did last time was I cleaned the fan blade. So my blade, as you can see, looks very clean. Before it was so dirty, and if you know, when fan blades get dirty, they cannot move air. So even like if you have the house fan, if it's dirty, it usually will get dust on the edges as it spins around to catch the wind. So a combination of just oil and dust floating in the air. If it's on your house fan blades, if you clean those blades off maybe once or twice a week, especially during the summer or whenever you use your fans constantly, you will feel a big difference just from cleaning off your fan blades. So I'm talking about like your regular house fan. It's the same effect, just like this little tiny fan. Make sure your blades are clean. So you want to do that every so often, once a year or something like that. It doesn't get a lot, but a lot of dust, you know, gets filtered through here, and oil and grease too, especially when you're in the kitchen environment. So you also want to clean the back of it and make sure. But anyway, back to what we were doing. Here is my circuit board. I'm going to unplug the pins here so that I can move it out of the way. On this, the electrical simply slides into this slot right here. So I move it over to the side, and you can see I'm already getting a nice clearance available. The screws which holds in this housing are this top one and this bottom, so we'll take those two screws out. And then here you have a ground screw. You're going to unscrew that so that it's not grounded to the capacitor. In here you have these two plugs which go to the motor. We're going to undo those. This one simply pulls straight out, so try to reach in there as much as you can to pull that out. If you have little pliers, you can grab the metal to pull it. Don't pull it by the cables, pull it by the housing, which is the metal, and in this case the plastic especially, so that it can disconnect without pulling out the wires themselves. So here, there we go. So here I'm grabbing the metal. I'm kind of twisting up and down as I'm pulling, so it's going to slowly creep off. Okay. So on this tab, when you go to pull it out, on the back side of it is a little button right there. You can barely see it, but it's right here. That little button, that tab right there. See if we can get a good focus on it. That's what you want to push in order to release. So it's kind of like taking your nail and pushing it in, and it'll release it. Okay? Since I'm changing this fan, it doesn't matter that I broke it, but basically when it's in there, you want to reach on the other side of it, or if you have a little squeezing pliers with a little tip edge that can kind of like grab it like that, you want to reach in for it. You want to push in that little tab right there, and pushing in that tab will release it. Otherwise, it's going to stay stuck. Alright, so with all of that off, now the fan itself just pulls off. So we're just going to pull that straight off the pin. If I can get in there with my fingers, maybe I can push it and that would be better. You can do this with it unmounted as well, be easier. I just like getting it out of the way because I'm not going to disconnect everything. So there we go, I just kind of pushed it off. And it's easy to see the outer and where the pin goes through. Outer pin goes through to put it back on. The two screws, one was here, one was down there that I took off, which loosens up the whole housing. I've got these disconnected. If you want to take it completely out, go ahead and take off your card here by undoing the tabs, and at the bottom you could unplug your capacitor and take the whole thing completely out so you can work on the next part. Or if you have enough room, it's easy enough to get to those two screws for mounting and then put the new motor in place. I'm going to go ahead and show you to taking the circuit board off. So there's one screw that goes in there, it's a Phillips, and then in between there's another one in there. Unscrew those and the circuit board will lift out just as easily. Now you have pure access to the housing with nothing connected. Oh, everything cycles through here, so remember to put this back in there after you're done. So we'll take that out. It's basically a gather. So we'll take that out. Now that I've taken that out, it's easy enough for me to pull it at an angle and kind of spin it. So this is good enough for me. I'm not going to disconnect capacitor and everything, because like I said, I don't want to mess with that electrical. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove these two mounting screws to be able to take the motor out. So I'm seeing right away that there is a difference. This refurbished one that I bought, if I put it in the position for the pin or the rod for the fan, which is downward position, the connectors are on the opposite side. So the wires that these connectors go into, instead of going in the front, which is how I took it off, I'm going to take it in from the back end and connect. So that's what I'm going to do instead. There may be a way to undo this and flip it around the other way, but I'm not going to go through that. This is remanufactured and I don't want to mess with anything on it. They've assembled it and hopefully tested it and everything like that. To get it turned around this way, the pin would be on the opposite side. So flipping this unit right here would probably make the difference. The original motor has the pins going this way and the rod going this way. The replacement motor that I had, in order to get the rod up this way, the pins were on the opposite side. So this motor I bought remanufactured, not new old stock. So remanufactured means they took it apart, cleaned it up, replaced whatever. When they put it together backwards from how I needed it. And so if yours is like that, it's real easy. You have this screw here, this screw here. You're going to take them out, and very carefully, in this case with the old one, it has screws on it. But the new ones that you get nowadays, this has a little plastic band on it. So when you take the two screws out, the back band is plastic and you don't have any nuts to worry about. But if you do have nuts, hold on to that. Otherwise, it's just going to go through the plastic band. Flip it around, which means all of this is going to be on the other side and all of this is going to be on the other side, and put it back together and you're good to go. So that's what I did with mine, so that the pins, when installed in the housing, were facing the proper direction. The other way, of course, is to run the wire from the other side and come through, but then that's inconvenient if you ever need to service it again. So the easy way, or the better way for me, was to go ahead and turn that motor around, because whoever had rebuilt it probably forgot which way it was, or maybe for a different microwave oven, the fan was on the opposite side. But this is a simple AC, not DC motor, AC motor. And because of it being an AC motor, you have to turn that around to figure out the direction of your fan turning. All right, so after undoing these two screws, it simply pulls out. The motor unit will pull out. Put the new one in its place. Make sure your pins and your rod are all in the same direction from your original. And if that's the case, you're set. Let's put everything back together. I'm going to start out, I'm just kind of placing the circuit board there. And I'm going to go ahead and put the main mount of the hardware in place. Okay, position is... Oh, let me put the fan on. Yeah, don't forget to put the fan on. Fan just simply pushes back on the rod. So you got to line it up and push it on. It has a stopper here, so just push it all the way in and you're set. Go ahead and put this out of the way for now. Get in here. This is America. We have roaches, right? So put some roach killing dust, because roaches love warm electronic things. They're in your TV, they're in your refrigerator, they're in your microwave, they're in your deep freezer. Whatever you have electronically, like your blenders, things like that, they love to get in there and make a home because of that warmth coming off of the electronics. So if you have that problem because you live in an apartment or whatever like that, sprinkle a little boric acid or diatomaceous earth to help deter them from hanging out in there. Anyway, let's go ahead and put these 2 screws on. Quick tip, if you are actually working on this exact same model, on the bottom is a short screw, on the top is a long screw. The long screw is designed to go through the plastic backing. The short screw is designed to go through the metal. So that machine screw will go through the metal. The one that has kind of a big tip on it, let's get up in here and take that back out real quick, which is a little bit longer and has the instant cutting. That's designed to go through the plastic, okay? All right, cool. And if you're wondering what that is roach poison, like roach bait. That's what that is. All right, so we got that in place. Now we're gonna go and set our circuit board down. It basically sets into its little pocket here. There we go. Line up the holes for the mounts, which is right there. There we go, lined up, both of them. And we'll put our screws back in there, and then I'm gonna push the wires back down through here, through the holder, reroute these around to plug back into the motor. All right, so I've got all that in place and bolted down. Now I'm gonna work with these 2 wires. This goes on the outer, so if you're working with that, you've got your 3 pins there. Where are they? There we go, you got your 3 pins. So this goes on the outer too, like that. And it's got this little kind of hook on the end, so you know that you're not going to put these in upside down. Oh yeah, we're going to route it through here, and then that'll give us enough room to be able to connect it onto there. That's good. And the other one goes onto the 3rd pin right there. Let's get up in there. A little hard to reach, but once it lines up, it just plugs right into it. All right, let me do this with 2 hands. All right, there we go. So that's routed through like it should be. Last one, we're going to put together back this screw, and then we're going to go ahead and put this on. It just slides down in the slot. It's got little slots on it. So we're going to just slide it down up in there. I think it goes a certain way. So it's got these little ridges here. Okay, so it's got a stop point. So I'm going to do it this way, which is facing that down. It goes in and slides down and onto there. And that stop point gives it its point where it stops, right? So that's pointing downward. All right, let's go ahead and get this one on, put the back on, and do a test. Double checking everything. Wires are connected, nothing's loose. Route it through here. That's grounded and set in place, nothing has come loose. That's finalized, fan is back on. Because you would hate to put it back on and realize you forgot something and you have extra screws. So all I have left are 5 screws, which will be the 4 on the back and 1 on the side. All right, just a quick tip of something to show you. So it's got this little slot here, which is in the front part. That slot goes all the way down. That slot is what you want to tuck into here. Okay? So when you're putting it on, you can initially slide it into place. But then you want to put that slot right up in there so that it's on the edge and it's sliding into that slot. Can you kind of see that? Kind of, sort of, not really, but yes. Okay, anyway, once you slide that on and in place, then it'll line up for settlement. In addition to the slot on the top, there are slots on the side too, so those 2 slots slide into these metal pieces. So when you're doing that uptick, when you have it up, push it close and then bring it down. Like I was saying, you're going to tick it up, the top slots are going to go in, you're going to push it close so that as you go down, those slots on the side go in place, and that'll give you the clean seal. On the other side, you can do kind of the same, but it's a lot easier on the other side because the slots on the other side will be the same thing. So when you do the uptick, push them both in, and then you'll be able to close it just like you did the other side. So that one, just going to kind of push it in at the same time that I'm closing it down. Hold that for me. Thank you. Using 2 hands with it. And then, there you go. Now it's lined up nicely. Okay? This side doesn't have a screw on it. The other side does. So we'll just turn it around. Everything is in place. So now we're just going to replace our screws. All right, so all put back together, plugged in. Let's see if it made a difference. We're going to start with the microwave. So let's do 50 seconds. It sounds kind of consistent. Yeah, it sounds very consistent. Yeah, I'm not hearing any variations like there were before. I can hear the fan going. I can feel the air sucking through. It's very strong actually, so that's nice. And it's sucking the air in. So it's sucking the outside air in is what it feels like. All right. So we should hear a similar noise with the toaster. I can hear the, but it's not like before that it was going like it was really wearing down. Now it sounds like it's strung. So I'd say that's pretty successful of changing out the fan. You can hear like that, but before it was really going like the motor was really slowing down. And the consistency between the toaster and the microwave has to be the fan, because the fan comes on for either one. That's the automatic one, which comes on to cool off the toaster area because it's warm in here after toasting whatever, so that fan sucks in the nice fresh air to cool everything down. And it sounds better. Sounds a lot better. So that should be the revival for my particular issue with this Kenmore Toast and Wave, which is discontinued, and nobody makes a combination like this. So if you have one and you're just trying to figure out different things to keep it alive, shall we say, then one of the things to check if it's a consistent fan kind of weird motor sound, that maybe it's your fan motor, and that's how easy it is to change it. Thanks for watching.